What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowshow. My name is Kyle. Today it is Saturday morning. We have football on tonight. We were supposed to have the Browns and the Raiders at about 3 o'clock Central Time, but that's not happening. That got pushed back. Of course, we have 2 Monday night games now and 2 Tuesday night games. So what we're doing today is we're going to go over my favorite touchdown player prop bets. We're going to be using DraftKings Sportsbook. Let me hop into a screen share, and we'll just kind of go through each game real quickly. I'll summarize who I think is probably some of the safer bets for touchdowns. Let me just hit refresh on the NFL feed here, and we're going to hop into Saturday's game today. We have the night game, the Patriots at the Colts. This is a really meaningful game for both teams. Patriots trying to secure that #1 seed with 4 weeks to go here, and the Colts are currently in the playoffs. A loss would be probably detrimental. They might put them out of the playoffs in the AFC. So here we go. If you know the Fantasy Fellowshow, we like touchdown bets. I can look at some receiving, rushing props and some QB props, but for the most part, I like betting on touchdowns. So Patriots at the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, of course, probably a safe bet for a touchdown if you want to just, take the 190. I think the dude scored in like maybe 10 straight games. If you wanted to put $20 on that, you're going to get 50% return. So $20 wins you $10. But that's not we're not here to tell you to take Jonathan Taylor bets. I'll probably put it on the bets to consider page, but we have been doing a thing lately where you take a guy like Jonathan Taylor and you can do a same game parlay, or you can do a different game parlay where you take a really high percentage odds player score touchdown, and you just package that with another high odds player touchdown, then you get a little bit better odds there. So JT, probably a good bet to score. But I think the guy I'm most interested in is Ramondre Stevenson. We did see that Damian Harris has been ruled out in this one. So Stevenson's going to be the guy that probably touches the ball upwards of 15 to 20 touches. They get near the red zone. He is the clear goal line back. And we know they like to run the football going back to last week. And we saw what they did on Thursday Night Football. So we'll see here. I do think Ramondre is probably the safest bet for the Patriots to score. You could go Michael Pittman Jr., but as you see here, we go from +100 to +200. So the sports book really doesn't like these guys for touchdowns. So I think I'll be quick with this one. Jonathan Taylor likely to score. Ramondre Stevenson likely to score. And if you had to do kind of like a dark horse bet, I suppose Hunter Henry has been good against opposing defenses and scoring touchdowns. So +260 for him. Maybe Kendrick Bourne +240. But I think stick with the running backs. Don't try anything too cute here. Let me see here. Jonathan Taylor, 95.5 rushing yards. Ramondre, 70.5. Kind of like both of these numbers, actually. They should go over with volume. But for most part here, I'm not too excited about this game for fantasy-wise. I do think for a game line, though, Colts favored to win by 2.5. I might go with the Patriots to cover that. And then +120 money on that might be the way to go. Colts or the Patriots go to Indy and pull it off. But let's move into some of the more interesting Sunday games. Again, with all the COVID situation, we have to be on our toes. Tomorrow morning is going to be a hot day for news. Hopefully, no more COVID-19 cases today. But let's pop into this. Cowboys at the Giants. First of all, it looks like the Cowboys favored to win by 11, 44.5 implied. So it's a really low total for the Giants. They might be lucky to get just one touchdown. But I'm feeling the Cowboys. Whether that's Ezekiel Elliott to score a touchdown. You could be looking at him for -140. I think all three Dallas receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup, they all have a pretty good chance of scoring a touchdown. If you want the guy with the best chances to win your money, that's Michael Gallup +175. Gallup has seen 9 targets. He's averaging 9 targets in his last 4 games, so he's been a hot receiver for Dak. But Lamb, Cooper, Gallup, you really can't go wrong with either of these guys. And then on the Giants side, I don't know if I'm going to recommend, putting any touchdown bet, whether that is Saquon Barkley +150 or Sterling Shepard or Kenny Golladay. I'd rather stay away. Almost, it might be more fun to bet the Dallas Cowboys defense to score at +450. So keep it simple with Dallas. You got Ezekiel Elliott and the 3 wide receivers. We still don't know if Tony Pollard's going to play in this one. So I think if they do get close, Zeke probably a pretty safe bet. So he's going to make the list this week. Let's go to the Houston Texans and the Jags, and we'll talk about the guy who I put on the thumbnail in this one. That's going to be James Robinson. Of course, Urban Meyer has been fired. Jags might have some new energy, some new outlook on life here. So I like the James Robinson rushing touchdown +105. I think I might put that actually in my top 5. If you're new to the Fantasy Fellowship, I did put the link in the bio. But if you just click on the link, it's going to take you to this page. It's called the Player Prop Bet page, where I track all my results. And then I put a bunch of bets to consider here, and then I'm going to lock in 5 week 15 props so far this year. We're 42 out of 75, just over 50%. So for the most part, we've been pretty successful. We've been doing a lot better lately. The earlier part of the season, we kind of struggled, but here we are. James Robinson rushing touchdown. I'm not going to pick on any other Jag to score. Now, I don't even want to pick any other Texan to score. I think if you're interested in rushing and receiving overs, though, James Robinson, 82.5 rushing yards, probably can see that. The receiving yards, I think I'll stay away, but Brandon Cooks only needs 61.5. That one does feel pretty interesting to me. And then I think from this game standpoint, I'm pretty much ready to move on to the next one. Let's go check out the Titans at the Steelers. This one, Titans, Steelers, it's in Pittsburgh. Steelers are favored to win by 1 game. I think I might actually take the Titans money line in this one. They are fresh right now. Julio Jones, a week, he played last week. He's a week healthier this week. I think they could be getting the Steelers at the right time. But Steelers at home is always a tough one. Looking at the touchdown bids, Najee, minus 105. That's always a safe bet here. And if I had to bet on one receiver to score, Deontay didn't score last week. He did get a 2-point conversion. So I feel pretty good about Deontay getting in the end zone this week. Let me actually show you real quick. If we go to the Fantasy Fellowship and I show you fantasy points allowed, the Tennessee Titans allowing the most fantasy points to wide receiver. They've allowed 16 receiving touchdowns. That's tied up there with Minnesota, Falcons, and the Giants. So the Titans' pass defense is one of the worst in the league. They've allowed the most receptions. They've allowed the most receiving yards. And only one team has allowed more touchdowns. That's the Cardinals. So it looks like Deontay, maybe even Chase Claypool. These guys are really good plays in this one. Chase Claypool, 240 there. Pat Frymuth has been catching touchdowns, so I suppose. I guess I kind of like Ben Roethlisberger in this one. Maybe we should look at that. I think if you're betting on Titans touchdowns, there's really only 2 guys that I can feasibly recommend, and that's going to be Deonta Foreman with a rushing touchdown there and Julio Jones. So this game is really interesting. The Titans need to keep pace in the AFC for that first-round bye, and the Steelers are fighting for their playoff lives right now. So interesting game here. Only 43.5 total implied, or 43 total implied points in this one. I don't know. I think I'm liking the over. We should expect both teams to probably play pretty well in this one. QB props real quick. Ben Roethlisberger, 260.5. People are taking the over here, but this feels pretty safe here. Ben Roethlisberger over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Again, it just feels good. The Titans' pass defense is a weakness right now, so I think that's where I'll stand with the Titans and the Steelers. Let's move on to the Cardinals and the Lions. Not really excited about this game for fantasy. The Cardinals are favored to win by 12 points on the road here. Let's take a look at the touchdown bets. James Conner's going to play. It sounded like he got practicing on Friday, so he's going to play. Minus 190 for a touchdown. That feels a little high. I don't know if I like risking it. He did have that ankle injury here. He could risk, re-injuring it. So I think James Conner, minus 190. It's a good bet that he gets in the end zone, but I don't know if I like it this week. Chase Edmonds, though, minus 190 as well. I don't know why they list all 3 running backs at minus 190. I think we're waiting to see inactives. But for the most part, at minus 190, I don't really see the point of putting, whether it's $20 down to win 10. I'd rather almost just put that on Jonathan Taylor, a guy I trust a little more. But I do like Kyler Murray in this one. He played well enough last week. He didn't score a single touchdown. So, if I'm looking at this, the Murray rushing touchdown makes sense to me. And then maybe Christian Kirk, maybe AJ Green, maybe Zach Ertz. Those would be the 3 guys that if Murray scores, 3 passing touchdowns, I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of those guys collect one. So if you had to bet on one, Christian Kirk plus 130, kind of like AJ Green, because AJ Green was the best receiver on the field for them last week, and he looked like the AJ Green of old. So plus 160 for AJ Green. And then there was that first interception by Kyler Murray. They were on the 5-yard line, and he threw an interception, but he was targeting Zach Ertz. So if they get near the red zone, I do like Zach Ertz for a touchdown. So I don't even want to mess with the Detroit Lions side for this one. So stick with the safe bets: Murray, Kirk, AJ Green, Ertz, and we'll see about these running backs. But it's a little murky right now. We need more info on who's in, who's out. Let's move on to kind of a lame duck game here. The New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins favored to win by 9.5 at home. Really low total of 41. Dolphins defense, one of the best starts in the NFL this week for Week 15. It sounds like Myles Gaskin's going to play. So I think if you can get Myles Gaskin at plus 140 to score a touchdown, again, he was on the COVID list. last week. They're on bye last week, fortunately, so he didn't miss a game, but he was out last weekend with COVID. And now he comes back to this team, playing the team that allows the most fantasy points to the running back position. That's the New York Jets. They've allowed 19 rushing touchdowns and 4 receiving touchdowns. So that's 23 touchdowns in 13 games. So the odds of a Myles Gaskin touchdown feel really good this week, plus 140 to score. And then I think if you're going to take any other Miami Dolphin to score, it's probably Devontae Parker. He's back and he's rolling. He's healthy. Plus 115. No Jalen Waddle. It makes it a little easier. So he's the safest, I think, receiver for Tua. And then, of course, just say he's always a guy here, but he really hasn't been catching touchdowns for a while. So I think that's a little bit more risky. I'd rather take Devontae Parker. On the Jets side, real quick, I suppose if someone's going to score for them, it could be Michael Carter. It's his first game back from his high ankle sprain. And then after that, I really don't want to mess with anything else. So I do like a couple pieces here as far as rushing receiving props. Gaskin 53.5. That feels like over. DraftKings is waiting for more info on this game though. But Devontae Parker 54.5. I think I'm in on Devontae Parker this weekend. So let's move on to the. We'll be quick with this one. Carolina and Buffalo. Buffalo favored to win by 12 at home. Carolina's just limping into this game right now. If you're betting on any Bills to score, it's got to be Stephon Diggs receiving touchdown. It's got to be Josh Allen rushing touchdown. I don't think I'll ever bet on a on a rushing touchdown or a receiving touchdown from a running back here because it just feels like anytime we figure out, oh, they like Zach Moss, nope, they go back to Singletary. If they like Singletary, they go to Breida. So I just think the consistency of that running backfield is too hard to trust. At the moment right now, it does look like Devin Singletary is the guy. But Diggs, Josh Allen with the rushing touchdown, and then Dawson Knox has just been fantastic near the red zone. So Knox to score a touchdown feels pretty good. If you want a guy with some good odds here, the best chance to win the most money, that's going to be Gabe Davis. And we know Emmanuel Sanders is already ruled out. If you put $20 on a Gabe Davis touchdown, that's going to pay out 3 times. So that one, it does feel pretty good. And then as far as the Panthers, man, like, I suppose Cam Newton rushing touchdown. The Bills defense is just so good. They rank as one of the best teams in every category here. They allow the fewest fantasy points per game across the positions here. So I think I'm just going to ignore the Panthers completely. DJ Moore, probably the only guy I would consider to actually use in my fantasy lineups. But the Bills, we expect them to roll their defense. Probably one of the best starts of the week. Let's move on to Cincinnati at Denver. Both teams need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Broncos favored by 3, 44.5 total implied in this one. Broncos defense is pretty solid as well. They rank pretty solid in all 4 position categories here. Bengals have been a little bit sloppy lately on defense. And they have been allowing running back and tight end points. So with that said, Joe Mixon, even though it's a tough matchup for Joe, I still think he's a pretty good bet for a touchdown if they get close. And then Jamar Chase, man, he's just been having a great touchdown season. So if you're betting on Bengals, those are the favorite guys to score. But I really like T. Higgins. If you've watched the show before, T. Higgins is one of my favorite players to draft this season. So I'm in on T. Higgins. But I think if you're looking at Mixon versus Chase, like Jamar is plus 115, Joe Mixon's minus 115. I think there's more incentive to take these receivers for Cincinnati. And then, of course, on the Denver side, we're waiting to see if Melvin Gordon's going to play. They already have said that Javonte Williams is going to play, so I think you should come in and probably lock in that 165 for Javonte. I'm not going to bet on any other Denver Broncos to score a touchdown. The receiving game is pretty sick. This is all about the running backs, and Javonte seems to be the hot hand right now. So roll with the Bengals receiving game of Chase and Higgins. Bank on Javonte, and we'll see if Joe Mixon can pop into the score there. That game is a really good game. I think that's the one of the more interesting AFC playoff implication games of the day. Let's move on to another NFC playoff implication game, the Falcons at the 49ers. 49ers are favored to win by 8.5, 46.5 implied here. I don't know. It just seems like every time we get a little excited about the Falcons, they let us down. So maybe this is the letdown game, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons came in here and gave the 49ers a pretty good game. We know Elijah Mitchell is not going to play here, so Jeff Wilson's the favorite to score a touchdown in this one at minus 125. I think for other San Fran 49ers, there's really good options here. Deebo Samuel, of course. The hybrid, he's basically, you got 2 Cordero Patterson type players in this game with Deebo getting more carries the last few weeks than receptions. And then you got George Kittle here. He's just been balling the last 2 games. And then Brandon Ayuk. So if you're betting on 49ers to score, these are the 4 guys to do it. I think for me, I'm gonna bet on a Jeff Wilson touchdown. And just they've been using Deebo Samuel so much that I think I'll stick to Jeff Wilson and Deebo. For the Falcons, it's all about Cordero Patterson. I expect him to score a touchdown, maybe even 2 in this game. And then who knows? Maybe it's Kyle Pitts' game, maybe it's Russell Gage game. But these guys are more volume plays; they're not really touchdown plays. So go with Cordero Patterson. There's a small chance Mike Davis gets one too. They've been putting him in near the goal line every now and then. And we did just see the tweet earlier this week about Cordero Patterson just kind of being veteran limited as they try to just mix in Davis a little bit more. So I'm excited about this one. I think this one could have a lot of scoring touchdowns and go back and forth. As far as QB props real quick, I don't know if I feel good about this one, but people are taking the over on Jimmy G, 1.5 passing touchdowns. So that's maybe a little bit more incentive to get a Deebo or a Kittle touchdown in your lineup here. And in terms of fantasy points allowed, the Falcons, second most fantasy points allowed this season across the 4 positions. The 49ers are, kind of a little bit tighter against these, but they really limit the tight end. So I'm not excited about Kyle Pitts, but we do know that the defense is dinged up over there in San Fran right now. So we'll move on real quick here. We're just trying to go quickly through all these games today. The Packers and the Ravens for tomorrow. This one's a lot of fun here. I still don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to play, so I think the touchdown odds are going to be a little bit limited here. But you got to take a Devontae Adams touchdown this week at minus 125. That feels like guaranteed money. As the season gets colder and older here, Rodgers is going to continue to trust him, and Devontae is kind of under his average, of touchdowns. So I wouldn't be surprised. Bang up Ravens secondary, go with the Devontae Adams touchdown. I feel good about this. Is what you can do: take the Adams touchdown, and then you come back and then you take an Aaron Jones touchdown and an AJ Dillon touchdown. Because if either of these hit, you're going to come out and you're going to win money. So I like both. These are the top 3 players for the Packers tomorrow here. If you wanted a really deep bet, it's Allen Lazard at plus 230. I don't know what's going on with MBS. He had a back issue or something at practice. So stick with Adams, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. I think there's a strong chance all 3 of those guys score. And then if you're looking at the Ravens, it sounds like Tyler Huntley is being prepped as the quarterback. And of course, Mark Andrews was the beast for him last week at plus 180. If anything, maybe we look at they don't even have any rushing receiving props in this one until they're waiting for the Lamar news. So Mark Andrews receiving touchdown, that's probably the safest bet right now. And we'll see if Marquise Brown or Rashad Bateman can do the dirty work too. But it's shown up pretty good for the Packers in this one. Let's move on to the Sunday night football game here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the New Orleans Saints. Tampa Bay favored to win by 11.5. I don't know if I feel that great about this one. The Saints and the Taysom Hill project, they are pretty pesky, but no Sean Payton in this one. So that could limit the upside and the savviness of the Saints. In terms of touchdown scorers, I think you got to take Godwin and Chris Godwin and Rob Gronkowski. We know Mike Evans has historically struggled against the Saints and Marshawn Lattimore. He did score earlier in the game that they played this year, but he's plus 105. I'd rather take Godwin, who's been getting double-digit catches the last few games here. So Godwin and Rob Gronkowski feel like the safe money plays here. Leonard Fournette has been banged up in practice this week, so he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. He got in on Friday, but at minus 150 to score. I think there's other bets that I like a little bit more here. I think it's all about Godwin, Rob Gronkowski. If you're looking at the Saints bets, of course, you could always take an Alvin Kamara touchdown. That does feel pretty good at plus 115. I think that's likely. But it's the Taysom Hill show. Taysom Hill plus 240 to score a rushing touchdown. That's pretty much all I want to do, and we'll stay away from the rest of this game. But man, Chris Godwin, 76.5 receiving yards and 7.5 receptions. So people are thinking he's going to be a pretty good play today or tomorrow. So I would roll with Godwin, roll with Gronk. Those are probably the safest plays. And then I really don't know if I want to look at these COVID games here. The Raiders, the Browns, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Eagles, the football team. I think I need more info, and I think things are just going to change with that. And they don't have anything in for the Vikings and the Bears game yet. So that's going to do it for this week's Week 15 player prop show. If you guys want to check out the link in the description below, that's where I'm going to post my top 5 bets. You can also use the bets to consider list. There should be some ones that stick out to you. So use your best judgment. If you guys do have fantasy start sit questions or DFS lineups, hit me up in the comments below, and just have a good rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see you guys in the next time. Peace.